Yes, it's about that time in an algebra year where I get to start going over one of my favorite things, polynomials. We're going to get into some stuff called factoring, which is an absolute blast. But before we get into any of that stuff, we need to know the basics. So what I want everybody to understand right now is what a polynomial is. Poly is a prefix that means many, and we're talking about many terms. Now, each one of these, you don't see many terms. You see one term, and one term. And because it's one term, we call that a monomial. Now, if I were to put two of these together through addition, 7x plus 2x to the third times y to the second power, I now have two terms, and we would call that a binomial. Now, we have monomials, singular, binomials, two terms, and if I had three, we call it a trinomial, etc. Now, we are going to be naming our polynomials in the start of this unit, making sure we understand how to name it using the degree and the amount of terms that it has. Now, for this one, I just want to talk about how to find the degree of a monomial. It's a piece of cake. Here we go. All right, so all you have to do is you add up the exponents of the variables. That's key. It has to be the exponents of the variables in the term. Now, the only variable in this one is x, and the exponent above it would be a 1. So my degree here is 1. We would then use that here to name the polynomial, and we'll get into that in another video. Okay, this one has two variables, x and y, so we need to add up the exponents. 3 plus 2 would give me a grand total of 5. And last but not least, we have 8. Now, this is where kids will get stuck. A lot of kids will want to say the degree here is 1. It is not 1 because I don't have a variable. If I were to have a variable with 8, it would be 8x. But the only way that I could write that down is if this was to the power of 0. Because we all know from our previous unit with exponent rules that the power of 0 would turn this into 1. And we'd really be just talking about 8 times 1. Okay, so the degree here, when you have a constant, is always going to be 0. So our 3 degrees are shown. 1, here I had to add them up to get 5. And when it's a constant, it's just automatically going to be 0. Okay, stick with me. We're about to get into some really fun stuff.